Hello, welcome to this week's episode of What One Thing, One Business, One Story and One Lesson to take away in action every week for small business owners who are looking to grow. I'm Hayley Baxter.
And I'm Phil Davenport. And today we have the pleasure of speaking with Jo and Zoe. We always like to start with a few quick fire questions. So, first question, how long have you been in business?
5 years. It's our 5-year birthday this year. It's going to tell me it's 6 years.
Well, we're halfway. It's 5.5. It was our 5th birthday in January.
I love it.
Yeah.
Talk to us about your team. How many staff do you have?
That's a great question. We seem to have all of our family works for us at the moment.
Yeah.
So we had a team meeting this morning and there were 4 of us, but there was definitely 2 people missing. That's right, isn't it? And sometimes the 7th, sometimes Rosie as well.
So both of our husbands are in the business. My mum and my sister and my daughter as well. Is that it?
My kids have done some packaging of parcels over the summer holidays.
Yeah. So it's definitely a family affair. Me and Zoe were strangers before we started this business, but we've become like family with each other. So yeah, it's a different way of doing things.
Love it. Just for the purpose of the podcast, I'm very pro child labour, especially, I like to pay in compliments ideally, but we do stretch to sweets and cash. Are you business to business or business to consumer in your sales?
Yeah, we're business to business. So we work with bookkeepers who are building their own businesses, usually from home. Usually they're solo bookkeepers who want to make work around their families like we're doing. But also with bigger businesses as well. And I think, when you think about like the niche we speak to the small business owner working from home, but that naturally attracts other people who have different goals as well.
I think what's changed in our business is we started being, business to business to the end consumer and the solopreneur. But now actually half of our business is to corporate. And that's been a change for us over this last year, because when you build a community, our community is nearly at 30,000, it gets the eyes on it of other people that want access to your community. So that's been a big shift in our business over the last year.
And are you the sole owners or are you part of a team of directors?
We are 50-50 business owners, but we've got a holding company who we own 50-50 of that. Our husbands are also shareholders. Zoe and I are the directors.
I love that as bookkeepers you've got a real kind of clever setup, haven't you? I enjoy that already.
I think it was one of those things that I think you don't really see your business often in the same way someone else is going to see your business. And we have a lot of ideas between us. And sometimes those ideas fit within the business we have, Six Figure Bookkeeper, but sometimes they are kind of something that's going to take us off on a tangent. And we started a training business, or we were talking about starting a training business and various other businesses that we got very excited about. And we were like, but actually they need to sit separately. So at the moment we're building a piece of software called Hey Monica, and there are other directors and shareholders within that business. And it made sense for us to put it within a group structure because we'll be really open. The goal is to sell that software. We will get it to a certain point, but we're not going to be able to take it to the level that it has potential to reach. So at some point, we will want to sell that business. And from a tax point of view, the most sensible thing for us, we think, to do is to sell that business so that any profits would go into the holding company. And then we have options about what we do at that point. So it's something that's evolved. It wasn't easy. It wasn't like on day one we were like, oh, let's just have a group structure. But it's something that we were like, oh, if we're going to really be the grown-up business owners that we tell other business owners to be, we have to make some grown-up sort of decisions and investments in ourselves as well.
The really important thing about that decision was that it's not, Zoe's an accountant by training, I'm a bookkeeper. We didn't decide that or think of that for ourselves. We were listening to other entrepreneurs who were saying to us, have you thought about this? And we were like, no, because what's really interesting is exactly what Zoe said. You don't see it for yourself. You don't see your business as big as it potentially could be. We tend to play small. And then when someone else says, why have you not thought of that? Even though this is your area of expertise, it's really funny. You're like, oh yeah, we should really think about that. So then when someone else gave us that idea, we then went and found experts, because you you've got to realise your limitations on what you understand. We've never grown a business like this before. So we've had to go and look for those experts. And that's, our audience are experts for other business owners. But I think no one is ever done with needing someone that knows something more than they do.
I love it. Absolutely love it.
Why do you think that we always don't, I can't think of the words you used, but it was something like we only think of playing small. Why do you think that? What do you think drives that?
If I'm really honest, and I'm going to be honest, I think it's a female trait. Because when we've started to go into, so our audience is like 80% female, and obviously Zoe and I are female. We are, we're juggling life, and we are approaching it with a female mindset. When we've started to move into different circles with other entrepreneurs, which are predominantly male kind of groups, and we have learned so much from how they think differently to us, how they see things differently to us. And it's not a negative or positive thing. I'm not saying that. It's just different. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus, all that stuff. And when they talk about their businesses, and we've seen it multiple times, there'll be events where people are asked to go and sit at the front and talk and just share things. The women tend to talk about the successes that they have had or their clients have had, and they don't ever mention their own success. Whereas the men stand up there and talk about their following, their millions, their this. And I'm like, I want to be more like that, but there's something that doesn't always, and we struggle. Me and Zoe have both got new cars in this last month, and it's like being on my vision. This car I've got, I'm trying to find the vision board where I put this car on my vision board years ago, because I know I did, and then it went out of but we struggle to really go, look what we've done. And I can only think it's more of a female trait, and I don't know why that is, and I'm trying to change it, but there's a struggle there.
Do you know what? There was something that came up, Jo, about there's a different energy. Like, I feel like we're in a lot of networks where there are like bros, and there's like this real like aggressive energy about showing success. And I think that maybe it's like background and upbringing. Our mums were both very strong role models for us, but we were also told messages in the 80s and 90s about like, not showing off, don't show off, like be quiet, only speak when you're spoken to, and those kind of things, which you wouldn't really say quite as much to a boy. I don't think.
Not in the 80s and 90s.
And I think like expectations were different, so I think we like internalize that. But then also, Jo, when you've been successful in business before, I remember you talking, Jo's grown lots of bookkeeping practices to different sizes, different revenues, whether they, worked out or not, that, they were businesses that were achieving goals that lots of people have in business. And I remember you saying to me with Jo Wood Virtual FD, which is the business Jo sold, bookkeeping practice you sold a couple of years ago, that you felt like you were very much in masculine energy. And as a mum and a wife, you don't want to bring that. And when there's no one who's really like modelling, well, how do you do this female, feminine parenting thing and be successful without bragging and making people dislike you because you're a bro? Like there's so many conflicts about, there's no one really modelling how to show up. So that's like really taken work, and I think we've both tried really hard to like, I don't know, listen to people, sources, read books, watch podcasts of people who are successful women to try and work out like, how do you do this in a way that remains feminine but where you don't feel you have to apologise for doing something because you think it might upset someone else if you get a new car and they don't.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It's really, what just comes to mind when you were just talking then, that paragraph out of the Barbie movie that went viral. Viral at the time, and I was thinking about that the other day actually, and I thought, what, it's so true, that those words are so true. I'm gonna dig that out.
Just gonna, as somebody who's not watched the Barbie movie, and we might be feeling a little bit of masculine energy over here, I'm going to say that I think there's a few bits that I really agree with. I don't know if it's a feminine masculine thing, because I'm in a peer group with other IT business owners, and a lot of IT business owners are male. A lot of them are really quiet, insular, and I'm often shocked that somebody would be vastly successful but you'll have no idea about it because they were just sat quietly in the corner of the room. But I think it's more acceptable in IT because you expect the IT person to be sat quietly. I think some of it, when I meet kids that have been public schooled or private schooled, I get confused between the two. And you can tell that they're used to people who've got 3 holiday homes. And they're used to talking about those holiday homes. Whereas maybe when we were growing up, if you'd gone to Spain or you'd gone to, Portugal or something, you wouldn't want to boast too much because you're aware that there were kids at school that were, struggling to get the latest jacket or struggling for this. And you didn't want to. And then the secondary piece, I know when I was growing up, success was 40k a year. If you could make £40,000 a year, you were balling. You were up there. And to then get into a business mindset where maybe you're making... I remember speaking to a business owner who just said off the cuff, if I'm not getting 100k a year, it's not worth it for me. I can't be bothered. And I was thinking, what, 100? What, you mean 100k a year and you're not... What, so if you got 80, you would bother? Yeah, I can't be bothered to do it for 80. And having not floated in those circles, it's very hard to think about the bigger picture. I think you're probably right. I think then being a female on top of that probably gives you all of those perspectives, and being a mum and like you say, being taught to be quiet. Definitely blokes are more boisterous in the way that they play and the way that they're taught to speak up and protect yourself, defend yourself. So I think, and of course being British probably doesn't help us.
Maybe it's kind of like who you're surrounding yourself with. So as an IT professional, I guess there could be lots of introverts in the same way as we see in the bookkeeping space. Like people like the computer and the numbers and the process, but don't really want to go out there and speak about it. And whether you're like the people surrounding you are those people in your profession who have a similar way of working or mindset, or the group of people you surrounded yourself with when you were growing up who didn't have the holiday abroad and that kind of thing, that sort of follows us. And we've got to push. If we want to grow, we have to push and find where can I feel comfortable outside of that sort of I don't want to say small world, but you are in a small world when you stick with the same people all the time. How do we find the people where we feel comfortable? You don't have to be anything. It's just where am I going to be inspired the most?
And it's really hard with kids as well. I'm going through this at the moment where I want them to be surrounded by things that inspire. So my daughter at the moment, just an example, she's 14 and she loves horses, which is obviously very expensive, and she's already very privileged. The other day she went and stayed at a friend's house, and I was checking on Find Your iPhone or Lifestyle 360, whatever, where she was. And the address that came up was the east wing of this certain house, right? Now, I know she's hanging around, and don't get me wrong, this family are beautiful. They are just so down to earth, so lovely. They have got the most beautiful home. They've got the horse. They've got the horse box. They both work in London. They've got the au pair living in. But they are lovely, kind. I want her to experience it, but it comes with the challenge because we don't have an east wing. And we don't have the horse box. And then when they're teenagers, they feel hard done by whatever their peer group have got and they don't have. So when we were younger, and maybe it was a Haven holiday or something, and I still felt like, I'm lucky because my friends won't be going to that caravan park. Wherever you're at, you're comparing, you're in that comparison, and you feel less than wherever you're at. So I know she is going to, I've seen her Pinterest board. I know where she thinks and what she's aiming for, and her goals are so much higher than my work. And I know she will achieve that as a natural step because she's being surrounded by that now. But it still doesn't mean that she wants more than she's got, even though she's extremely privileged. So I think there's always, wherever you are, you're always going to want more. We've seen spoiled brats that have been, that have got massive trust funds and everything, and they still act so I think that is maybe just a human thing that we all have. But I do think, Phil, you're right that the type of industries that we are surrounded with as well make us different. I was brought up in pubs, so my parents were always on show and always performing But when I went to school, I was told I was a show off and I needed to back off and stop being like somebody that wanted to like perform. So like drama for me was my time that I could get on stage and like be what I wanted to be and do that. But if I wasn't in that space, I needed to shush and know my place. So yeah, I think we all come with like family, with industries, whatever industries our parents were in, also what kind of money stories we have. It all comes to the table. And I think our job as business coaches is helping people realise that what they want to achieve isn't selfish and that they're allowed to be proud of their achievements as well.
So I look forward to the post about your car, Jo, going out on social media.
I'm going to post about your car when I'm a passenger princess next week.
Yeah. Yeah. Paul, my husband actually said it to me. Zoe's done a post about her car. When you doing a post about your car? And I'm like, oh God, I want to throw up. So this is the thing. It doesn't matter. Like, I know I have experienced success. I know that there is so much more success I want to experience, but it doesn't mean I don't have this internal like struggle. And I want to inspire, but I also don't want to like upset people. So really I think it's really hard.
And I think there are people close to us who haven't found it easy to accept when things have gone well. And so I like it actually, I can't name names or anything, but you know, behind the scenes it really is personal. It's not just like we think we might upset someone. Like it actually, you're trying to protect yourself from that and protect other people from needing to react in a certain way.
But also you want to show the audience we have and the children that we have that it's okay to celebrate your success. Yeah. So it's just, I think we've got to it's getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. We're never going to be comfortable with it, but actually it will inspire the people that it needs to inspire. It's going to make people angry, that it's going to make it. You cannot make everybody happy all of the time. So but me and Zoe have had this conversation lots over we've had such amazing opportunities that we've worked really hard for and then been given, and then we've had a role, and luckily we've got each other so we can talk to each other about it. But I think it is part of the entrepreneurial journey.
So take us back just a little bit to share, I obviously know this story, but take us back a little bit and share how your current business came about and how you two became business partners.
So Jo's been a bookkeeper forever. I became a bookkeeper when that's not quite true, but Jo will tell you that bit in a minute. But my side of the story is I started a bookkeeping practice when my daughter was a baby. I started putting things in place while I was pregnant. And so that was 2016, and I wanted to work from home. I didn't want to go back to my corporate job, long hours, all of that stuff. I didn't really know how that would work out. I saw it as like a little freelance job. I called myself a bookkeeping freelancer, charged an hourly rate, all the things we say not to do anymore. And it was really hard. But I got really busy because I was all right at marketing, I suppose. And then I had to learn all the stuff. Like I had to kind of break it to build it back up, learn fixed pricing, and grew a team and things like that. Anyway, Jo and I met when we were involved with our professional bookkeeping body, the ICB. They had a summit, they do this annual summit, and we both went along, and they'd asked us both to speak because I'd written a book, like a marketing book. It was called Know Your Numbers, and it's about bookkeeping. And I thought, well, I might as well do this because it's a good marketing tool, and then I might help some people, and also I might get some clients. And they were like, whoa, bookkeepers don't write books, come and talk about this at our event. And they'd also asked Jo to speak as well. I'm going to let you speak about that, Jo.
Okay, I've just had to ask my husband to stop doing the dishwasher because it's too noisy. This is real life, people, behind the scenes when you're doing podcasts from home. Bless him and his little face. So I spoke on stage because I was building a six-figure bookkeeping business from my kitchen table around the 3 kids, and I'd actually started the Six Figure Bookkeepers Club, our community. At that time, there was a bit of tumbleweed in there, to be fair, because I didn't know that many bookkeepers, and that was the whole point. I wanted to build a community because I wanted to reach out to like-minded people, but I also wanted to inspire them because at that point in 2019 I had like 4 kind of, not all failures, but not extremely successful bookkeeping practices behind me, and I wanted to share that even though I'd made lots of mistakes, that it was still possible to get it right. And I kind of wanted to hold myself accountable because when you're running a business on your own, it's hard to find accountability other than like the mortgage direct debit. So I started this community. I had started talking about my journey to six figures. I was talking to the ICB about it, and they asked me to speak on stage about that journey and where I was at and what my next plans were and everything. Me and Zoe saw each other speak, and as I was building this community in the background, I saw her speak and I was like, I need her. I need her with this, like, she is so inspirational. The community need a bit of Zoe in their lives. I think we had about 60 members at the time. In January 2020, we decided to hire an Airbnb and spend a weekend together after a few phone calls on Saturday mornings about the ideas that I'd had. I'd written most of the success program at that time, because as I was building the business, I was writing a program that I could share with other people, but I didn't have the skill set to do the marketing and grow a community around trying to build the business as well. So I felt like if I had somebody else, that we could do it together, and the business was incorporated together. We kind of really we set up the website. We in the next month we had some photographs done, but the month after that was March 2020, and we all know what happened in March 2020. So we didn't actually see each other in real life again for another 18 months. I think we were September 21. We got to see each other again. So we started it, but then went into lockdown. But it was perfect timing, because we had the basis of it. We knew and trusted each other enough. We were able to do everything virtually, and all our audience were virtual and in the same position as us, building bookkeeping businesses or trying to reach out to clients while at lockdown, while homeschooling, while all of this stuff was going on. And Zoe was going through a rough time with her business, and we were able to lean on each other in that time, but also it kind of just, the group grew so fast. So it was I think that, there was luck, but we had made the luck because we had the platform to begin with.
Yeah. So quite a question on that. So I'm really interested, because we talked about being feminine, kind of not wanting to put that foot forward, and then you've both gone for a speaking event. What was the thought process behind that? Because that must have been a huge kind of, God, do I do this? And what kind of benefits did you see from doing the speaking events? Because it's something I think we all, as timid business owners, and people would be surprised to hear me say that, think about doing speaking events and think, maybe next month, I can't see the benefits. How did you kind of process that?
My husband said to me, see it as a TED talk. He's like, it was a 20-minute talk, okay? So he was like, you've got to go on there, and this is a brilliant opportunity. I was like, I'm just speaking to bookkeepers, they're not going to be clients, And he was like, yeah, because I hadn't really thought about it. Well, I didn't even know Jo, really. We bumped into each other a few times before. I definitely didn't know what a course would include, or even that we could sell a course. I didn't see it as an opportunity in that way. But he said, that this is like a PR opportunity. There'll be photos of you speaking. Go out, be seen as an expert. He was really sort of championing that. And I did loads of reading about what goes into a TED talk, because I was like, right, I'm going to take this really seriously. And I honestly think, looking back now, well, I know that is the whole reason that we've been successful. We used that talk, we knew what we were doing, we used that talk to build absolutely everything else that came next. We're super grateful to the ICB for putting us on the stage that day, because that got us in front of a group of people who then became our clients. Whether we knew it at the time or not, we've then been able to leverage it. And I think there were times where we didn't want to leverage it. There are people who have said to us in business, well, you work so closely with the ICB, your business is easy to run because they just find you all your clients. And we're like, no, there's no business here. That couldn't be further from the truth. And I think people see things in very different ways, particularly people who maybe bring some, I don't know if jealousy is the right word. It's quite a weird competitive space. Coaching can be a bit, people are weird. But we have known that having photos on that stage have been really helpful for us to be able to show the credibility and the expertise, and reinforce that we are experts and know what we're doing, and then being able to build a business off the back. So anyone who's thinking about speaking or has an opportunity to speak, even if it's for 5 minutes, I've got photos of me speaking at networking events feeding Wilf, my baby, with a microphone. I use that photo all the time. That would have been one of the first times I spoke publicly, and I was like, I didn't know what I was doing. I think I gave 5 tips about bookkeeping, but that showed that I was asked to speak in front of a group of people, however many people were in the room. So anything like that, you leverage it for your visibility. And, you know, obviously we've had years of practice. We go to every conference going. We always put ourselves forward. We think, how can we really help the room? We don't just run the whole same stuff over and over again. That process has allowed us to, we got invited to speak in Canada last year. I've done a TEDx since. We need to get Jo doing a TEDx next. So, you know, that all of that creates opportunities, and you're just gradually layering the credibility on and building it. So any opportunity, don't wait till next month, do it today.
Yeah, it's been one of those things. I think people assume that we're not scared. Couldn't be further from the truth. Zoe would have seen me have full-on panic attacks. Last year at the ICB conference, we were asked to do a 60-second pitch. I nearly passed out. I'm not lying when don't get me wrong, I want to do it. I really want to do it. And I put myself forward because I know what the benefit of the other side. It doesn't mean I'm absolutely not petrified in that moment, but I also love it. It is such a weird thing. But like I said, when I was younger, I loved being on the stage. I loved doing that. It's one of those, it feels very childlike to me. When I'm actually in there and on it, everything kind of stops and I just go and get in the flow. But beforehand, I am a wreck, and I most of the time need a stiff drink afterwards to calm myself down and regroup. But the reason I got on that stage in 2019 was because it was on my vision board. I had actually realised that I'd been to that event since, I think about 2007, regularly been to that event, and I was like, one day I will be on that stage. And then I put myself forward, and it just so happened to be that me and Zoe were there at the same point. And we've now done it so many times since. And we've been on some big stages as well. There was one stage in Brighton. Oh my goodness, we walked into the room and we saw this and we was like, well, where's our stage? And they went, no, that's the stage. And I nearly passed out then as well. So don't assume because you see people doing it that they don't find it hard and terrifying and they have to prepare and practice, and like it just because you assume they must find it easy because it makes you feel better. It's not always the case.
There's a few things there, Jo, that is really interesting, because I think one thing is that people think it comes naturally to people, or maybe that was just me, but I think actually, and Zoe said it as well, preparing for that talk, the books that you read and how you approached it, and I think sometimes people believe that it's just natural and people can do it because they've got the confidence to do it and they know what to say. But actually there's a lot to be said for the preparation in doing it, and I think sometimes people miss that bit. They just think, oh, I could never do that, or you know, that's not me. And it's also interesting that it's sometimes the different ways that you put yourself out there. So I grew up, I've danced all my life, so from being, the first time I was on a stage dancing I was 3 years old. The thought of going on a stage and speaking is just like a totally different thing. I would go on a stage and dance all day long, wouldn't bother me. I would probably get a bit nervous, but I would do it and I'd love it. Talking, totally different thing. So it's very strange how our minds work and play tricks on us.
That's really interesting, Hayley. I think there's a framework for everything. So like one of the best things that I've learned in business is watch what is working well for other people and make your own version of that. So, you know, when I was talking about reading the books, we watch TED Talks, we like think, okay, how have they introduced themselves? How have they started that's worked really well? Has that worked? Has that not worked? Could I see myself doing that? I was preparing with someone I know who was giving a talk at a big event, and he was saying, you know, I want to go on there and I want to do this like comedy sketch, and I was like, flipping heck, are you sure? But because that wouldn't be me, because I could not do that. I am not funny, but he is funny and he could get away with that. So, you know, like seeing things that work for other people and then thinking, well, how do I take that? And it's the same even with dance, you know, like there's a known way that you show up, and the thing you do at the beginning and a bow you do at the end, they're just like the little like building blocks. So we just have to learn those frameworks and then think, okay, well, what's my little sort of flair that makes me a little bit different. Jo and I are very different about talks. I just see it as like, we've rehearsed it, I know the structure, as long as we know who says what on which slide, we're okay. But because I just feel like I'm just talking, no one's going to ask me a question or interrupt me. This is my opportunity to say what I need to say. But Jo sees it as a very different...
I see it as a performance.
Yeah.
Yeah, and putting myself out there for judgment. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely love it. You know, afterwards, it's amazing. I'm like, oh my goodness, why don't I do this every day of my life? But that moment beforehand, do you know what it is? It's because I really care.
Yeah.
I really, really care that I'm not wasting people's time and that they don't think, well, that was, well, why did I bother with that? Yeah. The other day, actually, we did some corporate training for the first time the other day. I wasn't nervous at all. Because it wasn't a stage, it was in a room. There was like 40 people sitting there. They were all experts in their field, but I knew that didn't bother me at all. It's really weird, like you say, like the thought of getting on stage and dancing. I mean, if I was drunk, absolutely, I wouldn't care. But to actually do a routine, I would give it a go, but I'd be really like, oh my goodness, everyone's looking. So I think there are different ways of doing it as well. A podcast. Me and Zoe have done 320, podcasts, episodes. So now we're very good. We know what each other's going to say. That's comfortable. It's comfortable. But we've had to change that up recently and put ourselves in a studio and do different edits and have little like pieces that are going to go out as adverts for it. We have to change it up. You have to constantly be pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. If you're comfortable with what you're doing, you're not growing. It means you're staying still. So I think you have to recognise where you're starting to feel really comfortable and go, okay, that's fine. And if you want to stay there, that's fine. But if you're looking to grow, you need to push yourself there a little bit more.
I think to add to that, you said at the start, Zoe, that people would say to you, oh, you're in with the ICB, so it's easy for you. I think we all get comments that used to box, and it's easy, oh, you're super fit, it's easy for you. And there's two mindsets that people approach you with. They'll either say, Zoe, Jo, what you do is phenomenal. How did you start and what process did you go through and because they're looking to replicate and they realise that they're going to have to do the hard yards, they're going to have to do the 10-mile runs in the boxing terms, they're going to have to get up early, they're going to have to go out in the rain, they're going to have to take some punches there. And then you get the people that come up to you and go, oh, I could do what you could do because you've got lucky. Mm-hmm. And normally with those people, I just say, yeah, I did, yeah. You find it easy, you got 3 new customers last month, it's easy for you. You go, yeah, it is. Because that's just such an easy thing, and you think, yeah, fair play. I don't need to. Whereas other people come from and say, what system did you use? How are you doing that? And those are the people that are ready to learn and ready to invest your time in. And it is very hard for me because I'm obviously massive ego to be that person when I'm approaching others. But I just really found that point kind of clicked with me when you said that.
I'm going to really take that because I feel like I have to defend and show how hard it was and things like that. And actually, you're absolutely right. When someone says, oh, well, it's easy for you, I'm going to do that. I'm going to say, yeah, it was, thanks. Because I said so much energy that goes into, oh my God, I can't believe they think that we're like this. Like that particular conversation, Jo will know where that came from. And it was at an event last year. And I still think of that. How dare that person take over my thoughts? Why am I giving that energy and space? So actually saying, yeah, it's easy. Think what you want. You can either ask me how it really is, or you can make your assumptions, and I'm going to let you. So thank you. Big learning from you.
Oh, let them, Zoe. That's it. Absolutely. That's a really good piece of advice because I think I would do the same, Zoe. I would defend. I would say you don't know how hard it is, but you're right, Phil, in the fact that they're of a certain mindset and they don't actually want to know the answers, so let them believe that it was easy because they believe that anyway. You're not going to change their mind, so move on and speak to the next person that actually wants to know the ins and outs of everything, so that because success leaves clues, they're looking. That's how I see it. And I keep saying to bookkeepers about this, stop thinking of yourself as the numbers expert. Look at yourself as a detective. You're looking at the numbers. You don't know the answers yet. It's okay you don't know the answers because you're going to keep looking. You're going to keep finding, and that's business as well. No one. I know people that have been extremely successful have made multi-millions of pounds, but they're not feeling successful. So it doesn't matter where you are in the journey. Like, you need to be in that moment feeling really happy and knowing that, like, either you're striving forward or you're happy where you are. But yeah, I just think we need to become more curious. And those people with the curious minds are the ones that are the ones that are going to say, tell me everything. I did have an encounter with somebody once who had been that person that thought I was lucky. And what I really, really loved, she pulled me aside after I'd been on stage. She pulled me aside and she said, can I just say something? I said, yeah. She went, I always thought you were really lucky. I was like, right. She went, you've just shared your journey and Jesus, you've had it really hard. And I want to apologise for assuming that. That meant so much. And isn't it like better that it came from them rather than me trying to force it down their throat?
Yeah. I think you never know. I think it's difficult. I think people only see the success, don't they? They don't see, unless they've been with you on that journey, or they're actually interested enough to go and find out about the past. They just see the success, and then that. So I just think it's their problem. My way. You obviously help lots and lots of people, not just bookkeepers and accountants. I know you both help lots of business owners, different types of business owners, but who's helped you most in your business journey?
Oh my goodness, that's such a good question. We've been so lucky to have lots of people. We've created opportunities to have lots of brilliant people in our lives. Sometimes we've invested amounts of money sometimes that have made me feel sick. Because we knew we needed somebody, that they would bring something that we didn't have ourselves. And
we didn't necessarily know what that was at the time either. So it was real. I mean, people could think, well, that's stupid investment. We've realised that we need to invest to be in the rooms around people that we don't know yet what we're going to get, but we'll never know unless we're in the room. I think that's what's changed with us recently, Zoe, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I think that we've almost had like marriage counselling. It's been particularly from, like, we were talking about money mindset earlier, particularly from a money mindset point of view, the way we need this business to deliver for ourselves and our families, because our husbands are in the business, we have families in the business, and we've had to make decisions together, even though Jo and I are not, like, we were complete strangers 5 years ago. And investing in the ability to be able to have those difficult money conversations and understand stories, that has been absolutely priceless. But what that's also done is put us in a position that's allowed us to feel worthy of being in those rooms with the people, because there are trips and groups we're part of now, and we're like, flipping heck, we don't, like, we are nothing like these people, like, they must, like, look at us in our, like, sheen clothes. I'm like, oh my god. So you're like, but, like, there are definitely moments like that, and you're like, I don't even know. Like, someone said to me once, oh, that so and so, like, they're the daughter of a billionaire bank fam, and I'm like, I was just having a chat with her at breakfast. Like, but I think that there was a time that I was like, oh my god, like, she'll be stuck up. Or, like, I would have told myself all that kind of stuff that we might have told ourselves in our childhood because we've heard the messages of those people around us. So the best investments we've made have been with people who've changed the way we see ourselves and our abilities and our ability to communicate together. What do you think, Jo?
Well, I think I wouldn't be where I am now if it wasn't for you. And you and me, we support each other. You give each other lots of, like, it's like, who could, like, build a business like this with a complete stranger? Oh, I'm going to get tearful. Move on.
We are like sisters. Like, Jo's like the sister I never had. We're so close, and I'm so grateful. I feel like Jo's family have taken me into their, like, nest.
I think what you just talked about there, Zoe, is though what helps. Not helps, that's the wrong word, but what makes you so inspirational to your community and to other business owners, because you know, like, they're just having the chat with that person over breakfast, like, that's just so, it's so relatable to everybody wherever they are on a business journey. And I think I definitely think that's what makes you both so inspirational to all those people that you support in your community and outside of your community, because I know that you do.
We had an introduction the other day, didn't we? When was it? Zero offices. We were about to train 70 people, and someone did an introduction about us. It was so good. I felt so awkward, and I just wanted to say, like, we are not, don't big us up. I just want to say, we're just a couple of twats, honestly. Don't bigging us up. We say stupid things, we do stupid things, we aren't something that's, like, don't big, we really struggle with that. But that's what I think, what we are willing to do is learn. So I think what people like about us is when we're in a room, we just talk about, like, some of the biggest conversations I've had with these people that I will look up to and think, oh my goodness, you're so successful. When I talk about the fact that I've taken my daughter out of school and I'm unschooling her because I can't figure this bit out, it's not working and I don't know how to, and I start being really open and honest and raw, people love it. They're like, let's talk about, can we meet up? Can we talk over coffee? And it's been an unexpected, like, because I'm just open about my struggles, the fact I talk about how many times I've failed in business, I'm still going, and like, I can help you because I can help you, I'd show you what I did wrong. Like, I used to hide away from that and pretend that it hadn't happened, because I talk about the fact I've made myself so ill in business and I'm still trying to figure that out. I'm just been ill this week. I struggle with that. I struggle with trying to keep every plate, juggling everything. I do, and I haven't found the answer. I'm not coming into you as a, like, this is it. This is a finished product. I'm not saying that. I'm still on this journey and you can come along with me. And Zoe is exactly the same. So honesty, I think that's one of our keys. We are really honest because we can't be anything else but honest, because it's not in integrity, and people really value that.
Okay, so we've had heaps and heaps of value from yourselves through this, but now I'm going to put you to the what one thing question. So I count that there's kind of 4 levers in the business. So you can bring on new customers, you can expand the business that you've already got, increasing revenue with your existing customers, you can cut costs, or you can improve efficiency within your own business. But what one thing have you implemented in your business, and would you recommend to another business owner that's looking to grow, looking to scale their business? What would be your one thing that you would say would make the biggest difference? No pressure.
I think the job right now for everybody is to remove admin, stuff you're doing now that you don't need. And we've really restructured our team over the last 6 months or so. A lot of things have changed for us, but what that's done is it's highlighted things that are being done that I don't think we need to do. I'm going to add 2 things. But I just feel like, you know what, I feel like the best thing I can do with my time is tie my time to the things that generate revenue. So in terms of, like, what does my diary look like? If it isn't tied to revenue, it's really not worth it. But that probably is a clue that there's admin that doesn't need to be done. So I think I would go back to, where's our money coming from and what actually has to happen to make that happen? Because AI and, you know, technology and automation means it probably doesn't look the same as it even did a year ago right now. So there's a massive opportunity for everybody to either leverage or cut costs.
Yeah, love that. I would never say cut costs. I'd say, like, don't, like, if you're spending money on something you shouldn't, obviously just don't. But don't look at cutting investments. So make sure that you're, you know, investing in the right things. But my thing is really about energy and happiness. The more energy I have, the more creative I am, and I think this ties in with what you're saying, Zoe. If you're doing mundane tasks that drain you, think about where you're getting your energy from and allow yourself to move towards happiness. If you're doing something that's not making you happy, that will mean you're less creative. That will mean you will stop attracting. When you're happy, you're pulling people towards you and they want to know more. So if you've got clients that are weighing you down, or if you're doing something that just doesn't light you up, start being selfish with your time, with your energy, and realise that by doing that, you're being a great inspiration to other people around you, whether it's your family, your children, whether it's your clients, but know that you're not being selfish.
Absolutely love it. And the final piece, give us a shameless plug. Who is your ideal client? How can they connect with you? And what's the best way to get in touch?
So if you are a bookkeeper or an accountant, or you work with a bookkeeper or an accountant, which I hope you do, let them know that there's a podcast called The Bookkeeper's Podcast. We've like completely overhauled how it looks. We love the conversations that we're having on the sofa now, but there's something there that will help you or your bookkeeper or accountant to boost their business. So look us up wherever you listen to your podcasts.
To be moved when you listen to them. They're amazing.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Hayley.
Thank you both so much for coming on.
What a dynamic duo Jo and Zoe were. And you could, and this is cheesy, but you could feel the love, you could feel the passion, you could feel, and it resonated with me because your business does almost end up being your family, and it does end up being a really integral part of your life. And also meeting other business owners that are on that same journey and share that same passion, because that link does almost, bond you immediately. What was your big takeaway from that, Hayley?
Well, there were so many. I absolutely love Jo and Zoe. They have been instrumental in my business journey, absolutely, 100%. I'm part of their community. Back in probably beginning of 2024, when I had to make quite a big decision about which direction my business went in, coming across them and being in their world has definitely shaped that business journey. Even to this day, I love working with them. And I think added to that is their unique way that I think they met and they came together. And I think it's amazing that you can just meet somebody quite randomly like that then becomes so instrumental and key in your life. And it's really quite an amazing story. And as you say, you can see you can see it when you're with them, and the way that they interact and talk to each other. And they've been on an amazing journey in 5 years. I think the key takeaway, well, there was loads. I think it's really interesting that regardless of the success that they have and they are having, and in the accountancy and bookkeeping world, they're quite well-known personalities, people, whatever you want to talk about it. It's quite like probably the IT world. It's quite small when you start getting into it, but they still feel like they don't deserve or they don't belong, or that they don't have that confidence, or they don't. And they are confident, that's not right to say they're not confident, but inside they've still got those feelings. And I think that was really interesting when you look at how successful their business is, how many people that I know firsthand that they help. People go into their community, and often people will go in and be on a journey and they'll stay in maybe 6 months or 12 months. They've got people in their community today that have been there 4 or 5 years, and that's because they always come from the point of view of how they can help and how they can add more, and what do you need from us, what do you need to learn about, who can we get in to support you there, but they still feel like that on the inside. I thought that was really interesting.
I think that is a champion's mentality, and I learnt it, and I'm by no means saying that I'm a champion or that I've achieved greatness, but I learnt it from seeing top boxers and how they interacted with fans, or and and especially with the heavyweights. Well, yeah, you've got there, but you're 6'5". It couldn't be. And you see them, and it's just water off a duck's back, because why on earth would you ever need to take that opinion on? I thought of Zoe's What One Thing, and I loved in a way that Zoe's What One Thing was a real kind of practical tip: remove admin. And such a huge point as well, too. It's so hard to document the time that you spend in the day, but when you do, you find out that 80% of it is not heading towards your core value or your core kind of goal. And then on the flip side, Zoe was just Jo with a real emotional, just integrity and truth. And I thought that almost summarised, and I can imagine that they must switch places quite often. It won't always be, but hitting those two, the core kind of, I don't want to say cold, but the kind of realism and stoicism of this is what we need to be doing, removing admin, and also the warmth of we need to be, integrity needs to be key to it, truth needs to be key to it. What was your favourite part about their What One Thing?
I think so Zoe's What One Thing, the admin bit, is really that perhaps feels like an underrated What One Thing in a way, because it sounds a bit like, oh, admin, I don't do a lot of that or whatever. But today, in today's world, the way that things are shifting with AI coming in, and AI is, I'm just going to leave it there. If you as a business owner don't shift with that and use the tools around you, it comes back to that being left behind or not being able to spend the time giving the value to clients and customers that other businesses will be able to, because you're stuck doing things that something else or someone else can do for you. And sometimes we're guilty as business owners, I believe, of hiding behind, well, I'm busy today, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I've got to do this. We don't stop, or sometimes because we don't want to, because it's safe. You know, I've got to do my own bookkeeping today, or I'll just sit and have a nice day doing that. Nobody ever uses the words doing bookkeeping and a nice day in the same sentence, apart from me, but there you go. But actually, is that really the best use of my time, doing my own bookkeeping? And I think it's easy to stay in our comfort zone. So I absolutely loved that admin tip. And you become complacent as well as a business owner. You don't stop and think about how you can change things or how you can do things better. You just do what you do.
I love it. Absolutely love it. And thank you to everybody today who's listening. I hope that you found one thing to help move your business forward.
If you did, do us a favour, share this episode with someone else who's on the same journey, and we'll see you next time on What One Thing.